You are invited to a celebration of the life of Cesar Chavez. It's going to be held in the after-school program, and you realize that it's 3 weeks away. You may be asking yourself, what's going to happen? And then you arrive and you are blown away. There are some students who are doing ballet folklorico dances. Others have created essays about Cesar Chavez and they're reading them. There is a wonderful gallery that you walk through that has all kinds of art activities that depict the life and work of Cesar Chavez. There are some games outside that are called Chavez Values Games, and you realize that they are games that kids are playing, but that have a value-driven message behind them. What happened here? How did these after-school kids pull this together? The way they did that is through project-based learning. I invite you now to join a session for site coordinators on this very essential part of after school, which is called project-based learning. Welcome to a class for site coordinators entitled Project-Based Learning. What the heck is project-based learning, you may be asking yourself? Well, there are official definitions, and then there's how we use it in the after-school program. Officially, a project-based learning activity is a series of lessons that happen over time that end in a culminating event of some sort that are based on young people experiencing certain things that are germane to the topic, and then mastering the learning behind that, and then at the culminating event being able to demonstrate that understanding or learning. It's also very important that in project-based learning, if it's going to be successful, that kids are interested in the topic. If you pick a topic that no one in the room is interested in, project-based learning will fall pretty flat. Usually in project-based learning, the activities are geared so that kids can answer certain questions. It may be questions such as, what conditions existed on Earth that allowed dinosaurs to have free reign? Or in the case of Cesar Chavez, it might be, what is significant in the life of Cesar Chavez that really allows us to celebrate and rejoice in his life? And so then kids would have the opportunity to explore his life. So project-based learning usually has a core question or something that you want kids to dig deep into and to develop a keen understanding of. Project-based learning is really synonymous with learning in depth. So instead of the surface type of learning where you learn 20,000 facts about a 20-year period, you're going to really go deep in one subject or topic area in one person's life and really pay attention to the details that surround that, so that your understanding is no longer surface, but truly is something that you can internalize and use as you move forward in different ways. A well-designed project-based learning will not just be a series of activities. It will require that kids learn something, that they acquire new knowledge, and then that they apply that knowledge in such a way that they can demonstrate that they truly understand the information that they've learned. Project-based learning is so essential, not just in the after-school arena, but in many of the things that we do with kids, because it is the warehouse of the 21st century learning skills that are needed for kids when they go out into the workforce. So when we look at those things, such as being able to work on a team, to think deeply and do some sort of reference work on a topic, to be able to have synergy with a group of others so that you're coming up with something that's better and bigger than what any one of you could have created. The ability to problem solve, to ask deep questions, all of those are 21st century skills that will be needed in the workforce. And project-based learning gives kids an opportunity to practice all of those skills. So it's relational, it's rigorous, and it's relevant. And so project-based learning is really something that kids look forward to and can be a huge draw to your after-school program. Project-based learning is usually done in groups, at least partners, maybe small groups of 3 or 4. Each one of the groups may take on a different aspect of the project, or you may have several groups all working on the same aspect of the program. So that depends on how you want to orchestrate that. If it's many hands make hard work light, then each group will have a different aspect of the project itself. It also allows kids time to reflect, to think about, to debrief the learning. And reflection is very important because this is a skill that you need to develop as an adult and as you go into the workplace. The ability to say, how did I do today? Was I a good contributing team member? Was I responsible for myself? If I did those things and I did them well, how might I celebrate those? And if I struggled with those things, what might I do tomorrow so that I'm a better team player, that I am better able to give 100% of myself? So that reflection time is very important in projects. When you're developing a project, you want to have it centered around an open-ended question. Now, an open-ended question is one that has many possible answers. There probably really isn't a right or a wrong answer. Those would be closed-ended. So when we're talking about Cesar Chavez and we ask the question, what are the important aspects of his life that have allowed us to remember and celebrate his work? That's a very open-ended question. There's not any specific detailed answers that say, oh, correct, correct, incorrect, correct. And that's really what we want to do. So perhaps the question, if you're looking at habitats, ocean habitats, it would be what habitats are most conducive to sharks and dolphins living in the same environment? And so you might ask that sort of open-ended question. So kids are now having something that they're looking for, they're trying to gather information about and to learn about so that they can then share that learning down the road with someone else. It's important that you, in your planning of your project, devote some time, certainly not all the time, but some time to the development of content, of understanding of knowledge-based materials. So you might want to use a book or a story or a newspaper article, something that has been written that will allow kids to gather information. Certainly teaching them how to go online and do research online would be very, very beneficial. But you want to be sure that there's a basic core understanding of content and base knowledge. So you've asked your open-ended question, you've built in some knowledge acquisition, and so now you're ready to move on to the next part, which is to help young people make a decision about how they will demonstrate their understanding of both the question and its response, at least their response, and also the knowledge that they've acquired. This sort of planning of an activity can be in any variety of ways. It can be through art, it can be through music, it could be through interviewing, it could be through writing, it could be through dance, it could be through any of the visual and performing arts and any other medium that you would like to use so that kids can express their understanding of the question asked and the content learned. Remember that in project-based learning, you are having kids develop higher level thinking skills. They need to be critical thinkers. They need to be asking questions. They need to be making decisions. They need to be solving problems. It's very important that you understand that they cannot just function at low levels. They really have to move forward asking the challenging questions and solving challenging issues and figuring out how they're going to demonstrate their understanding. You need to know that in your project-based learning, while you have laid certainly some groundwork out and some foundation, you will want to make space for student voice and student choice. Instead of saying, okay, this group's going to learn the dance and this group's going to write poetry, you will want to do some brainstorming with kids so that they can tell you what they would most like to learn, how they would most like to express themselves, and then guide that process, being sure that they've had plenty of opportunity to speak up about what they'd like to do, how they'd like to express themselves, and then giving them some choice in the matter. There is a cycle that you will want to incorporate with feedback and revisions. You need to let kids know that maybe the first try out the blocks isn't going to be exactly how things will end up, that they will need to have opportunities to do some practicing, to do some revisions. When you write the poem, maybe you're going to have to write a section of it 2 or 3 times until it really captures the intent of what you want to say. And you let them know that revisions are a part of life, and that's really what you do in projects, that you don't expect them to be perfect right out of the chute, but that you do expect people to reflect on how well they're doing and then to tweak or make adjustments as necessary. Finally, you're ready to present your results. It's important that that's done in a very public way, that you have a gathering of some sort so that young people can share their learning, that they can demonstrate the dance that they've learned, that they can read the poems that they've written, that they can take people through the art that they've created. This summer I had this wonderful opportunity to look at the Smithsonian that kids had put together at their school site. And they did this because they had a real understanding of the different aspects of the Smithsonian Institute and the museums in Washington, D.C. And they recreated it to the best of their abilities. And they demonstrated. They had a true understanding of the Smithsonian's and the works that are on display there. So this culminating event needs to allow kids to showcase their understanding, and it needs to be celebrated in public. So when you put it all together, you have a project that kids can be engaged in over time, maybe up to 6 to 8 weeks, and that will end in a culminating event that will allow kids to participate on a very deep level of understanding on a given topic, and to showcase and demonstrate their understanding. So when you get ready to plan, you might not want to plan projects every week. Certainly that wouldn't be what I would do. I would have a project that we would work on 2 times a week for, say, 8 weeks. But I would have those projects happen maybe 2 times a year where kids could be truly engaged and involved in deep learning about a topic. And when I had done that, I would capture all of those notes and capture as much of the demonstration of their knowledge as I could, so that I could use that for future planning and for retooling that project for the future. So give project-based learning a try. I think you'll discover that your kids will truly enjoy it.